All right, in this vid might, if you've ever even opened a DAW, that it might seem silly, but the basic tools that you have for audio analysis in your DAW are, you really want to take a really close look at them. You want to examine them just like a piece of hardware that you bought. You went out and spent a bunch of money on a real expensive piece of hardware. You want to look at every software tool that you have, just like that. And some of these software tools, you might want to buy hardware versions of them for testing things and analyzing things outside of the DAW. And I do suggest you do if you can afford it. Or you might be able to find some that are inexpensive, even at garage sales, or looking around at the Thrifty Nickel or Nawan ads. But the basic tools that that you have, the fundamental tools, the most basic tools you have are like your spectrometer. Your spectrometer and what all it does. Some spectrometers will do different things. This is just the stock one that comes in my DAW. And when you're looking at the spectrometer, what types of spectrum can you see? Third octave, the FFT, and what is it? What all are you looking at? Different types of different views of it. Some of them will be logarithmic or non-logarithmic, and what exactly does that mean, so you can analyze what you're looking at better. Waterfalls, what exactly, being able to understand those while you're analyzing the audio and what you're looking at is really going to help you when you're trying to fine-tune things as things get more complex. Because, once you really start getting into it, you can understand that it can be very complex. And these tools can do some very complex analysis that a lot of people just ignore because they don't even address the complexities that are even possible happening in the audio. But all these different functions of this piece of software, for analyzing this, sonograms, waterfalls, all kinds of things, for analyzing what's going on and to understand what all is going on and all the buttons that are associated and really understand what they're doing and what you're looking at. It's really easy to use all these tools. Start with a sinusoid, with your tone generator, and produce a sinusoid. And then maybe put some, try to sidechain a bunch of them and, start trying to build some complex waveforms, and add in 2 sinusoids and 3 sinusoids and 4 sinusoids, maybe adding a modulation effect, some kind of tremolo effect or a modulation effect on it to see what it's doing to those, so that you can really fine-tune your understanding of those tools and what it's trying to show you. And things like the scope, what are you looking at? Do you understand what you're looking at, what these knobs do? And, and a really precise understanding of what all you're looking at, whether it's this piece of software or a hardware, because it is a tool that can help you. And if you can pull it out and understand it, a lot of people take a lot of these tools that are in their DAW that are for granted because they don't use them. They don't understand what they can do for them because they don't understand that well what's happening with them. And if you've watched all the videos on this channel, you should have a lot better understanding of what you're seeing here anyway. And, when you start fine-tuning your knowledge of this instrument, that you'll find it can be a very useful tool. These simple tools can be invaluable. And phase meters, what exactly are you looking at here? What does this stuff mean? Get out your, the manual for your DAW and look into it. And if you have any specific questions about what that is, try not to get specific answers, and, so that it's very, concise and very accurate, answer, so that you can understand what you're dealing with, so that you don't just pull it out and go, oh, well, that looks pretty, but I don't know what the heck that might mean, as it's dancing around. Correlation meters, what that's doing and what that might mean to your mix, or when you're recording, and in every stage of your recording, mixing, and mastering process, that all those tools are invaluable for you to work through those processes and do a good job, so that you don't have problems and so that you can analyze what is happening. Even simple things like level meters, and what all might be associated with a level meter that you have. VU meters. What exactly is the VU meter showing you? Take a little bit of time to really examine what that instrument is doing and what it's showing you, and use those tools at every step in your process. They're invaluable tools as you're working to pinpoint issues and to make that your processes, easier. I mean, even simple things like tuners, it can be very, invaluable tool as you're going along trying to figure out what's going on with something, to understand what's happening in the tunings and how accurate it is, if you've got issues that you have to deal with. And that can be another invaluable tool. So some of those really basic tools can really help you a lot. And they're just a few tools that are really the basic tools that you have in your DAW. There's a lot of tools in your DAW for analysis and seeing what's going on with the audio without ever opening up one of these tools. But these tools are specific analysis tools to see what's going on for a reason, for you to analyze what's happening to the audio. So really spend the time and take those tools and really look at them, and be concerned with the ones you have in your DAW. If you can afford to buy some really expensive one or something like that, that's great. But if the basics are the basics, and if they basically will do the same thing, when you get into a lot more expensive pieces of equipment, they might do it better. But that is going to go with your experience and what you need. I mean, as you become better and understand better, you might need some better tools, but the chances are you probably won't unless you get into some serious audio engineering that might be going a little bit out of the realm of actually in the studio. You might find the tools that you have in a professional grade version of a studio that are actually very functional to do what you need them to do. But you can always buy some different ones, and there's always free plugins that come out that you can look at and mess around with. But be real careful about the quality and whether or not they're doing as good a job as what you have in your studio to begin with, just because, it's somebody's name on it or it looks cool or something like that. So this vid was just to have you understand, to go back and look at those basic analysis tools and really study them, what they can do, what your DAW will allow them to do, side chaining and all kinds of things. And if you've watched the videos in this, in this channel, that you already understand some of the cool things you can do with your spectrometer and your scope and your phase meter and all that stuff by side chaining it, and for analysis of your entire mix as you're doing mixing to a final product. Which is a really cool tool. I mean, it's invaluable, and it's really neat, how fine and how detailed of an analysis you can get as you're fine tuning your mix and all aspects of it before a finished product. So really just go back and look at those tools, what they can do, and understand what they can do. And if you've watched the videos, like I said on this channel, that most of the stuff you're looking at, that you probably got a pretty good understanding what you're looking at anyway, and you might need to do a little bit of research about what all this piece of software can do to analyze the audio and why you would want to look at it. But those are some of the most basic tools, and I suggest you go look at those basic tools. In this series of the audio analysis, you should have a whole handful of free tools to analyze audio. You should have something to analyze the processes of your studio in case you run into issues, to fine-tune the processes that are happening while you're processing and understand what's going on in there. Your basic processors here, you need to really sit down and go through them and really understand it. Spend some time, spend some time really understanding what that's doing and what you can do with those basic tools. And so that would be another pertinent step in your audio analysis, that is part of the analysis, so that when you're actually working with the audio, that you're better able to analyze what is going on and understand what is happening with the analysis tools. So I hope that was real basic, and I didn't get in depth to any of their functions. because most of the functions of those tools may sound very complex, but actually what they do, it's fairly simple, and you can get as complex as you want. I mean, I can put stuff on here for you to analyze the Fourier transform and what all happens in that when you're looking at a spectrogram, but you may not go that in depth. Your audio engineering level of understanding, you may not want to get that in depth. And so the basic understanding of those tools, so you can understand what you're working with, so you're better able to deal with the audio, that, you know, they're invaluable tools. All of them, you know, all those tools that I just showed you are your basic tool belt to analyze the audio, and really sit down and study them, what they're doing and what all you can do with them, and analyze audio, so that when you're looking at it, you can really help fine-tune issues that you're having, and it can really help you in the way you record, the way you mix, or the way you master. All those aspects can be greatly affected just by you having a much better understanding of what's in the audio and how to analyze it. Does that make sense? And those tools, with the other videos that I've showed you on this channel, you should really be able to analyze audio very well. But those basic tools, just take a look at and really understand what they're doing and what they can do. So that would be another tool to have in your tool belt after you understand what they do, and spend the time learning them. Peace, hope, love.